Hey friends, welcome back. It's been a while since I've posted a video. I've been really busy doing a bunch of stuff. So, as you can tell, I kind of Grizzly Adams'd out here a little bit. But we got something new that we're going to do with the Blade 350QX. So, Horizon Hobby and Blade have just come out with the Blade 350QX AP combo. That's been on the market for a couple weeks now, and they have released all the individual components for the AP combo. So what I got today actually is the GB, what's that, 200 gimbal for the Blade 350QX. So now this is the gimbal, and first glance, I mean, you know, it's fairly self-explanatory. It's mostly plastic with a little bit of metal reinforcement around the motors. This is metal. This is metal here. This is plastic. All this is plastic. So maybe in the event of a hard landing, it might not survive. But it's, you know, it was a $200 gimbal, so hopefully it will. Hell, I don't know. One thing with this though, it came with two mounts. So one for the GoPro mounts up to, and then the one for the Seago, the 5.8 gigahertz wireless camera designed for Horizon Hobby. Now basically this is fairly easy to swap out, and I'll show you on this one. Okay, so this is where it mounts up to the gimbal. And you can see, maybe you can see, I don't know, lighting. I'm still working on lighting. Don't hold it against me. There, you can see that little notch. You line those two notches up. Now in the notch here, you can access the set screw here with the Allens provided. So you go ahead and loosen that set screw. This slides off. Now on this, on the bottom, there is this little slidey piece. You slide that up. What this is on the bottom of this, is the sensor board for the gimbal that tells the gimbal what position the camera is in. Now when it comes to you, it has the Seago mount on. So when you pull this off, you're going to see the little circuit board up underneath that, and I'll pop this off just to show you real quick. What you're going to have to do is, it's mounted on, and it won't even come off unless you take the mount off first. So it's held on by double-sided adhesive tape. You're going to have to be real careful pulling that off. Once you do that, then you can swap it over to this one, put the GoPro mount on. Everything is fairly much in the directions here. They're brief directions. We'll just leave it at that. So then, once you go ahead, if you need to change mounts, change mounts. You know, if you're upgrading your version 2 or version 1 to the AP combo, I don't know if you want to put the Seago camera on. Everybody, you know, it's an unproven camera to me. So anyway, so this is the vibration damper that comes with it, and hey, it's already assembled. You don't have to put the balls on. I do, however, recommend popping your zip ties in them. Just like that, just loose enough to where it can still move freely. You don't want it binding up. But this is the mount. The gimbal. Let's see, the side with your holes is front. You slide that sucker in there, just like that. So, on your 350QX, you're going to go ahead and take your vibration dampener plate off. And you're going to mount this in its place. Okay, so through the magic of pause, so I put it on. However, you can see that. See the back end is bent down there. That's because it's hitting on that guy right there. So, what I'm going to end up doing is taking that mount back off and trimming that piece back. So, hang on a sec. Okay, so I've taken the mount off, and what I've done is mark my line where it hits. And so I'm just going to take a hacksaw, I'm going to cut right along that line, and then I'm going to cut right along here until she falls off. Alright. There you have it. So we now got this notched out. And if I hold the gimbal mount up to it, she fits nicely. She fits nicely in that slot, just like that. So let's go ahead and screw it back on. And that looks a heck of a lot better. So, I'm not going to do the other two screws right yet. So included with the gimbal are wires. And there's a bunch of them. Now basically what you've got is you've got a servo lead on one end, and you've got that little guy on the other. I'm sure this looks pretty familiar to everybody that's ever had to tear one apart and replace an ESC or anything like that. Now I was looking at them, and there's some different configurations of wire. There's 3 different configurations that I see here. First, you've got all 3 wires. So, brown, red, orange, your standard servo lead colors, ground, power, and signal. Then you've got this guy here, which is just ground and signal. And then for the one that I've already fished through, I'll bring that up close to you here. That guy, which is just ground and power. So on the sides of the gimbal here, you've got 4 ports on this side, and you've got 3 ports on this side. Now there's a variety of different functions that this gimbal will do. I'm referring to the manual. So on the side with 4 ports, the top port here, they say is volt universal power. The one directly below it is mode control port for angle or velocity control. Okay. The lower middle one is the Blade 350QX camera pitch control port. And then the final port is the universal PWM input. So if you're running it off of a pulse width modulation. Then, on the other side, you have the bottom port is your Spectrum satellite receiver port, which is kind of nice to know. That way you can take this one, the one with all 3 wires in it, hook it up to that port, hook that up to a Spectrum receiver, and control the pitch and velocity of the gimbal via another transmitter. Okay, so the one directly above that is a UNEEC, which I have no idea how to pronounce, receiver port. And then the very last one right next to my finger there is the software update port. I'm assuming the same software updater cable that was used to update the 350QX firmware can be plugged into this and to update the firmware. However, wouldn't do that because of the whole downgrading problems that we had with the 350QX, not being able to downgrade it back down to version 1. That is what it is. So, what we've got to do is we've got to route one of these wires up into the quad. Now, we all know where the compass lead comes through the leg. So what I've done here is, because there's another port right there on the other leg, I've gone and routed the servo lead end up into the inside. See, I'm going to try and do this without taking the body off because 42 screws really sucks. Now, if you're really good and you can kind of see in there, actually let me pull the battery out. Here, let's do this old school. You can kind of see where it came in. Right by that iron ferrite ring. Okay. So the little screwdriver that comes with it, I haven't seen a Phillips head screw yet on this thing, so I just used it as a fishing tool. As soon as I got that servo lead up there, you can go in here and dig that and pull that servo lead out and give you some room to work with it. So basically, we remember the power and the ground. Now the ground on these servo pins that I've always been talking about on this, that are at the rear left hand corner of the quad, ground is to the outside. So I'm going to go, and I've gotten really good at this. This is like the 4th time I've done it. I'm going to go and just, using my thumb and forefingers, just slide it down there enough to make contact. Now once you make contact, you take your little fishing tool and use it to push the servo lead down. Okay, that's it. We'll give you another shot here. Get the lighter. Now if you can see that, you can see where the servo lead is attached. Then all you have to do is come up here, pull the slack out. Simple as that. You know, I really hate pulling the body apart of these things. It's just such a pain in the butt. So, we're going to test the gimbal real quick just to make sure that the power is hooked up right before we continue. So, go ahead and pop your flight battery in. The gimbal, since I don't have the tall legs on, I'm just going to hold the gimbal. Okay, and we're going to plug it in to the lower middle. I think. Oh, no, we're not. This is only a 2-wire end on the other end. So you got to kind of pay attention to some of these things. So that's a 3-wire end. The one that I hooked up in here is only a 2-wire end. And that's that top port right there. That's the universal volt. So we're going to go ahead and plug that in. And then let's see here. Okay. Then all you got to do is turn the power to the quad on. Now I don't have a transmitter on, so it's going to go into bind mode, and that's fine. And you see the light flashing up here. That's the initialization. You want to try and keep this as steady if you're going to do it like I did it. Try and keep it as steady, and there you go. Okay, so real quick, while we're down here, we've got it right where we can get to it. We're going to go ahead and fit the gimbal. Oh, dear Lord. So there you have it. There's the 350QX with the gimbal on it. Simple as that. Couldn't be easier, right? Well, I'm going to save it for the next video. But that gimbal's just a little too long. And unless you're going to store it like that, to where you actually have your 350 sitting like that all the time, which this ain't going to work. You're going to have to put the taller landing gears on. I'm going to save that for the next video. It's a little bit late. I'm going to go to bed. But that's how to install the GB200 gimbal on the Blade 350QX. You all have a good night.